The Ants and the Grasshopper, narrated by the fanciful but truthful Grasshopper. A fable is a short animal tale that teaches a lesson. It's one of the oldest story forms. The Ants and the Grasshopper is from a collection of hundreds of fables called Aesop's Fables. These stories may have been written by Aesop, a Greek storyteller who lived over 2,500 years ago. In autumn, the ants were busy drying out the grain they had gathered in the summer. A hungry grasshopper came to them and asked for something to eat. "Didn't you store any food for the winter?" the ants asked. "What have you been doing all summer?" The grasshopper held out a fiddle and said, "I've been making music, and before I knew it, summer was over." The ants shooed the grasshopper away. They didn't offer any food. "You made your choice," they said. "Now live with it." The moral of the story? There's a time for work and a time for play. "Oh, hello. I'm happy to meet you. My name is Harper. I'm a grasshopper in the fable you just read. And I want you to know that I'm not lazy. Did I make some mistakes? Yes, I did. But that fable leaves off just where the real story begins. The rest of the story hits all the right notes." That summer was especially delightful. I loved everything about it. The rosy sunrises, the fresh grass, the blooming flowers, gentle breezes. I felt so happy. I just had to play me fiddle. I had to sing. I played my fiddle on the rainy days too. That's when we need music the most. The animals and the insects in the meadow enjoyed my music very much, and not the ants, though. They barely looked up when I sang to them. As they busily dug tunnels and gathered seeds, they seemed to be marching to a beat of work, work, work. And I became so carried away with my music that I didn't notice the earlier sunsets or the fading flowers. The wind turned chilly and leaves dropped from the trees. Then one day, my stomach rumbled quite loudly. I looked around for a tender plant to seed and found nothing. "Excuse me, could you spare a sunflower seed for a hungry musician?" I asked the ants. "No, we could not," one of them snapped. "We worked hard all summer for our food," another said. "What did you do?" Well, sadly, I turned away. Why hadn't I prepared for winter? What had I been thinking? I couldn't live without food. Soon the snow would fall, and that would be the end of me. Then the day came when I was too weak to play my fiddle. I thought I was dreaming when I heard a voice say, "Here, eat this." But then a kernel of wheat appeared before me. I bit into it. This was no dream. It was real. I took a few more bites and I looked around to see who had done this kindness. "Hello," said a little ant shyly. "My name is Lark. I really like your music." "Thank you," I said. I hungrily finished off the kernel. Right away, Lark gave me another one. "You saved my life," I told her. "How can I ever repay you?" Lark looked down at her feet, and she spoke softly. "Well, I was hoping maybe you could teach me how to play the fiddle." "Really?" I asked in surprise. "But you're an ant. I thought ants didn't like music." "This one does," Lark said. "Please, will you teach me? I'll pay you back with food." "Well, of course," I said. I was feeling stronger already. It would be my pleasure. Lark and I made a tiny new fiddle out of milkweed, silk, and a hollowed-out appleseed. We created a bow out of a strip of reed, and then we got started with our lessons. Lark was a fast learner, and in no time at all we were playing beautiful songs together. One day during practice, I noticed a couple of ants watching us. They were waving their feelers in time to the music, and I saw ladybugs swaying back and forth, all sorts of other flying insects doing loops and spins in the air. And that's when I got an idea. I whispered it to Lark, and she nodded. "Friends," I called out, "would you like to become musicians too?"
"I would!"
shouted a ladybug.
"Me too!"
called an ant. "Zzz, we're in," zzz, said a couple of dragonflies. "Well, all right then," I said. "Let's make our own orchestra." We got to work making our instruments. I gave lessons day and night. Everyone paid me with food. Soon I had more seeds than I knew what to do with. Next, we practiced as a group. At first, we sounded more like out-of-tune crickets than a real orchestra, but we got better. In fact, we got so good that we put on the first ever Harvest Festival concert, and it was a smashing success. So there is a time for work and a time for play? Sure. But remember, make time for music and sharing too. Bye-bye.